For me, inclusive theatre means theatre which genuinely involves an audience. It answers their requirements of a show. So we make theatre that works without relying upon verbal language. We use other languages. You know, we use the language of scent and of touch and vision and of movement. So we want to make theatre that looks at the requirements of a particular audience and then finds a way of really connecting with them. We make a theatre that's close up. And that tends to mean that it's theatre for quite small audiences. So we often work with audiences of, let's say, 6 people or 8 people who've got an autistic spectrum disorder or profound multiple learning disabilities. And they tend to be small audiences, and the shows tend to be multisensory because you have to find different, perhaps, sensory pathways to connect with a particular audience. You know, I mean, basically, we're all alone, aren't we, in this hostile universe, trapped in our skulls. You know, essentially, you're all alone and you always will be. But isn't it great when you can reach out, touch somebody, get a response from them? And this is like early 1980s. You know, a lot of theatre professionals would say at that time, there's no point in working for these audiences. They haven't got any concentration span. You know, under 5s, they just want to go to the loo all the time. And it was all nonsense. You just had to find the right kind of theatre for that audience. And you know, people on the autism spectrum, they're not going to look where you want them to look. They're going to move around. They're going to make a noise. Well, they might do that, but I mean, there's going to be plenty of opportunities where you can get a two-way thing going with people, definitely. And when it happens, it's wonderful. So, you know, how can you not do it? Are you mad? Come on! You know, like, I mean, one show in 3, I reckon, is kind of alright. And even then, you know, if you do it again, you do it at least a bit differently. There are different bits. You never get it right. So, you know, you kind of always learning from what just happened. Learn from your mistakes, learning from your successes. She got on the trampoline and she was sitting there being supported by one of the performers. And suddenly she was with the movement and with the singing, and we were singing her name. We often do that. We use the person's name as the lyric of the song, and she just sort of unfolded. She came up like that, the whole sort of body tone altered. And she was sort of looking down and open like a flower, and I just thought, oh, that's fantastic. You know, I mean, it's interesting to see how much good practice has got incorporated into the mainstream. You know, how many you know, sign performances how there are, how many described performances there are, how many touch tours there are, you know, how many performances, you know, what I would just call in the mainstream theatre puts on for people with autism. You know, sort of the sound down, lights up sort of. You know, I think the whole theatre business, to my mind, has become more open to the whole community. It's the fear of the unknown, isn't it? It's that I've never done this before, I've never seen perhaps an example of this kind of work, so what do? And actually there's not really a barrier. You just have to think about the requirements of the particular audience you've chosen to work with, you know, whether it's an individual or a group or whatever, you know, and think, well, is what I want to do really going to communicate? And if it isn't, could I do something that would make it more communicative? It varies a lot. You know, I've seen good stuff in Sweden. I know there's good stuff in France and Spain, but it's not a lot. I mean, you feel like we're at the start of something rather than, you can see that I'm sure in 10 years' time it's going to be a lot stronger, a lot more significant. More of it. I'd like more people to be doing it, and I'd like more people to be, you know, thinking about what makes it work and would make it work for them. See some good stuff, you know, that's relevant. I think it's been very important for the Oily Cart that we've actually had performers mostly, but also other people, artists with disabilities working in the company. You can get into this thing. You get into it as a performer anyway, of, the audience are something other, like, particularly if you've had a bad show. And so, that isn't, there isn't a separate community out there, right, who are the audience, or the audience who've got disabilities. And, we're all in this together, and having performers with learning disabilities working in an integrated company means that you get it, I think it informs the sort of the ethos of the company. It makes you more aware of political issues, that this is something that society needs to do something about. And there are these very talented people who there are not obvious employment opportunities for them